So welcome to the Daiwa Foundation. Very nice to have you all here. And don't worry if you haven't managed to see the exhibition yet, because we'll have drinks and have a look at the works after this. But this is our chance to hear from the artist what they are all about. So I'll just very briefly introduce them because we've got a lot to talk about. So our artist is AKI INOMATA.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. And well, she's going to tell you a lot about her art, so I think there's not much point me introducing it in any detail, but she's had shows all over the place. She's obviously from Japan, but had shows in various other places. And the person who's going to be talking with her today is Dr. Lena Fritsch, who is something of a regular here at the Daiwa Foundation, one of this country's leading experts on Japanese contemporary art. She's currently the curator of modern and contemporary art at the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford. She was previously at Tate Modern, and she's also worked directly with AKI, curating a show in Roppongi in Tokyo. And I think I'll just leave my introductions at that so that you can get on and we can finish on time. So, AKI, please.
Yes. Thank you for coming. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very happy to be. Thank you so much. Yeah, actually, we are planning to have this solo exhibition in 2020 April, but it was cancelled due to COVID-19. And over 3 years now, we are finally to have this exhibition. So I'm very honored to be here. Yes, thank you so much. I'm working with various creatures such as octopus, and this is insect, bagworm. Do you know bagworm? And sorry, this is very common insect in
dragonfly larva or caddis larva?
A little bit different, but such a moth. It becomes moths. Yes, yes, and they can make protective cases by themselves. That's why I gave same pieces of clothing, and they make these cages by themselves. Yes, and this is a parakeet. I went to French lesson with parakeet, and this is hermit crab, and this is pearl oysters. Yeah. So I'd like to show you this. Why not hand over a shelter to hermit crabs? You might, yes, this is hermit crabs, and you might know, but they are changing shelter to shelter because they are getting bigger. And this is New York City, and yes, I made many cities from all over the world. And this is Zenskans in Netherlands, and this is Berlin. It's famous. Yes, and this is Tendan in China. Yeah, and this is Ait Ben Hadr in Morocco. What is that? And this is temple in Thailand. Yes.
Can I ask what material it is?
It's resin, using
Resin.
3D printed resin. Yes, this is Santorini in Greece. Yeah, this is Guayaquil in Ecuador. Yes. And this is Gogoan, Japanese small house. Yes. Because it's hermit, like a hermit. Yeah. And this is Tokyo. Yes, you can see the downstairs. Yes, this is Tokyo Tower, and this is highway, and this is Mori building. I am exhibiting this. My work in here now. Yes, maybe later you must describe.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'd like to a little bit talk about process. I use 3D printer and I use CT scanner. This is CT scanner. I want to have the shell data, interior structure of shell data. So that's why I use CT scanner. And then I put on CTs by 3D computer graphics. and I combined them, and I use 3D printer. We can touch it. Yes, that's it. Yes, I am using biocompatible plastic for this project. This is biocompatible plastic. Yes, and yeah, my journey started in 2009 because I have an exhibition called No Man's Land in French Embassy in Tokyo, former French Embassy in Tokyo, because the building was demolition, and we had an exhibition for I heard that the territory of French embassy was belonged to not to Japan but to France, and it returned to France, and it will return again to Japan after 60 years. So France, Japan, it's switching. So that's why I want to make Paris shells and Tokyo shells, and I made hermit crabs to move into each shells. So it was starting point, and I recognized the shell is little bit metaphor for nationalities or our identities or more things. So that's why I am continuing this work for a long time. Sometimes I am exhibiting these living hermit crabs in aquariums like this. Yes. So then I'd like to show next work in the exhibition, the lamp horse in motion. Sorry, a little bit complicated, but this is animation, and this motif is Nonbred horse in original Japanese horse, and Nonbred horse was extinct already in 19th century. So that's why I'd like to meet the extinct Japanese old traditional horse. So I made this work, and we cannot find where, but this is Nonbred horses. Yeah. And this is a very rare picture of Nonbred horse. They have small legs and big heads. And Nonbred horses were extinct because crossbreeding with foreign horses. So that's why I have to make it, I think. And this is the Japanese army, and they was breeding for horses for army, and that's why they extinct already. And this is the last person, Nonbred horse, and this is the bone of the last Nonbred horse. So I made Nonbred horse's replica from this bone. And here is the site I shooting, and my inspiration became from this ice waterfall, and this is very famous in Japan. I mean, more north area in Japan, and I tried to make this ghost horse like this, spraying water. Yeah, so like this. They're a very cold place, and I set up these 12 horses as like a circle, and I shoot each horses, and each horses are different forms. So like this, and maybe you know Edward Muybridges? Yes, and actually I refer this project, and I made 12 horses like this, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So like this, we can make animation. Yes. Just skipping my slide. Yeah, like that's it. Yes. And next, I'd like to think evolution. This is octopus and ammonite shells. I wanted encounter two species, octopus and ammonite. Ammonite extinct very long time before, and we can see fossil of ammonite. So I recreate ammonite shells from fossils CT scan shell data. So I gave her, she is a woman, yes, and Mercy, named Mercy, and I gave Mercy, and she loved this shell so much. I mean, octopus and ammonite have same roots, so that's why I wanted to encounter two species, and octopus had shells, and they threw away when they evolutionary history. So, and it's a little bit similar to human beings. I mean, body hairs or some. So we threw away in historical. Yes. So. And this is a study of sculpture. This is ammonite fossil, and I made this part of ammonite fossils. And in 21st Century Museum of Contemporary Art Kanazawa, I made this installation, and a little bit cell membranes. I think it's a little bit similar to cell membranes. And actually, I I projected this movie to mountain. Yeah, this is an island, south area of Japan. I love, this is night, moon night, and it's very dark. So then I'd like to describe about this work, ground floor's installation and first floor's object. Memory of currency. I put in object inside the shells. Shell is oyster, pearl oyster, and they made these pearls. I mean, they covered on the object I put in, and this is a portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, and actually I made 5 persons from bill, I mean note, banknote, like this. This is Karl Marx. Yeah. This is Queen Elizabeth II. And this is George Washington. This is Mao Zedong. This is Yukichi Fukuzawa in Japanese periods. And the inspiration of this work is the shell was used to be money, and I mean before the modern era, and I wanted to encounter two current money and old ancient money, and the shell was floating down in the sea. I mean, I want to imagine a tale how they become fossil of currencies. So that's why I threw away these shells in the sea and think about economic systems surrounds us. Yeah, so this is another images. And this is our installation view, previous installation view in Mahokubota Gallery. I used coral stones with videos, and I exhibit this shell with resin because I imagine this become fossil. Actually, I shooted this underwater video by myself. And fisherman, he is fisherman. He helped us a lot. And here is Tanegashima, South Island in Japan. And we try to dive and shooting. Yes, it was very huge hard work for me, but I want to try in the water. Yes, so yeah, we are like this. It's very beautiful water. And then I'd like to explain how to carve a sculpture. Could you explain a little? I mean, this is Mori Art Museum's installation view, and she is curator of this Roppongi Crossing 22.
So I might just say a few words about the exhibition, which is actually still on until the end of March. So if you happen to be in Tokyo, please visit and see the show at the Mori Art Museum. So there's a triennial called Roppongi Crossing, which happens every 3 years, and it's a triennial of contemporary Japanese art. And usually there is a curator from the Mori Art Museum and then a few other external curators, and I happen to be one of the co-curators of last year's and this year's edition. And so the theme this year was, we were really thinking about how COVID has changed our ways of thinking and how our ways of thinking have changed generally over the last few years, and the whole idea of kind of not, always focusing on the human, the kind of anthropocentric viewpoint, but kind of just also to think about other creatures, think about other beings on Earth. That was one theme that was quite important to us. And so right from the beginning, we thought that Inomata-san's work would be really interesting to feature in the exhibition. And this work in particular, we thought would be great also for the space. So the Mori Art Museum has quite large space, and so we wanted to exhibit something that hasn't been shown as much before, and that also could work in a large space. And this work called How to Carve a Sculpture is really interesting because Inomata-san is playing with the idea of authorship, of who's the artist. Because the works that we see here, some of them were made by beavers, actually. The small ones. So she gave wood to beavers in different zoos. So she kind of collaborated with the beavers and with the zoos, and they would then carve, so to speak, the works at night, because obviously they are quite active at night. And then she gave those works to a sculptor who recreated them by hand. And there you see the larger ones.
This one? Yeah.
And then she also gave them, or kind of worked with a milling.
Yes.
What are they called?
CNC milling machine.
CNC milling machine.
This one.
So basically, you have three different authors. You have the human, you have the animal, and you have the machine. But they're also, in a way, Inomata-san tends to say also that there is the fourth, because they're also within the wood. They're the little kind of insects that are actually also creating shapes. So there are always these kind of chance encounters as well, in kind of in terms of authorship. And so it's a beautiful work. Actually, I should also say, when you get closer to the works, there is an element of sound as well. So you can hear the sound of the beavers, and you can hear the sound of the milling machine, and you can hear the sound of the sculptor carving as well. And what we liked about it was, that it's kind of, there is this ambiguity. You don't really know which elements are made by humans, which elements are made by animals. And in the process, one thing that I was really happy about was that I think for you it's really important to also think about the overall design of the space. And so the plinth, well, not the plinth, but basically the base that this is on, we always at the beginning were thinking of just a white kind of, white cube style, so white base. But then in the process, we decided to use a wooden one, and I think that worked actually really well. And then also part of the installation on the right side, you can't really see it on the photo, but there are various elements in which Inomata-san is basically sharing her research, and you see kind of photos of the beavers. And so basically the visitor, first might not really know what this is, but then, you know, if you kind of take the time and look at the work closely, then you can find out about the whole background.
Yes. Thank you, Lena. Thank you very much. I'd like to describe a little bit more. This is wood for this project, and I set up the wood like this in the zoo, and they are biting the wood in night. Midnight. Yes, they are nocturnal. Yes, and next morning, staff came to here. Yes, it's a little bit similar to studio. I mean, sculpture studio. Yes, and I corrected. This is similar to Brancusi, I think. And this is like a bird, or like humans, or maybe torso or something like that, and this is fungus or something. Yeah. I collected many wooden blocks bitten by beavers. Yes, and this is a previous exhibition I had, and this is wood bitten by beavers, and actually beaver have behavior to eat and want to make building, I mean nest and dams and more. So they have to chew wood for sharpening their constantly growing teeth. Yeah, that's why they bite wood. So they don't want to make art, I think, but they have to make art pieces, I think. And I mean, I think it's so just a side product, but it's very beautiful, I think. So I'd like to know why these are so beautiful. And I found that they have a spiral shape. I mean, could you see it? I think a little bit spiral. Yeah, and the other one is same. So I am very interested in this spiral shapes because this may be result of the beaver avoiding the hard notes, and branches of the trees grow in spiral shapes. So that's why they became spiral. And this is a difference. And the branches are. Sorry, what's that?
Phylotactic?
Yes, sorry. Fibonacci. Yes, the branches are rules of Fibonacci.
Oh.
Yes, that's why I think it's very beautiful. Yeah, and just as a side, I explained to have a beaver's skull. This is replica I made by 3D printer, and it's good for 45 degree is very good, and 90 degree is not good. So that's why, or it might be a spiral shape. Mm-hmm. Yes. And this is a reference for 45 degrees, I mean tree and beaver's teeth. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, as Lena-san said that I want to know who is artist. And I think it's not only beavers, but also tree, I think. Mm-hmm. So, and it might be relationship between tree and beaver's teeth. So, and I want to continue. I want to slide artist to a little bit change artist. I mean, I asked the sculptor to make replicas from, and I asked the machine too. So this is a replica by sculptor, and it's 3 times as large as beaver's sculptures. And this is the studio, and this is also replica by sculptors. Yes, but a little bit, I feel human beings scissor marks, I feel a little. And this is beaver's one, and this is human's one. A little bit different, I think. And I used 3D computer, CNC milling machine. I use this automatic CNC milling machine. And in CNC milling machine, computer graphics made passes, and it's pre-programmed passes, so there are no interaction with wood and drills. Right. So, and it's very homogeneously, so it's totally different, I think. And so there are no consciousness or something like that is lacked in this computer-made sculptures. So I'm not sure it is sculpture or no. I mean, it's very contrast when beaver or person made or this machine made one is very strange, I think. So there are question of consciousness in sculpture, I think. And furthermore, yes, hidden artist is here. I found a horse like this, and I researched about it, and then they let us know this is a longhorn beetle's tunnels. So, do you know longhorn beetles? Sorry, it's very small insect, and they made. So this is such as negative structure or something like that, I think. And I used CT scanner again to research the tunnel of insects. And here is longhorn beetles. Yes, this is larva and this is adult. And I made 3D computer graphic video by CT scanned data. So I'd like to know the negative sculpture inside the sculpture. I want to throw away this tunnels, so I made this. Yes, and it's like a university or something like that. I feel, yeah, cosmic or something like that. So yeah, small cosmic. So and I found it's. I was thinking the wood is only material, but also artist, I think, and there are artists inside in the materials too. So I'm very surprised. So and additionally, the people let me know this is a very old Japanese traditional architectural decoration, Rama. Sorry, Rama is Japanese, but Rama is a part of architectural decoration. And this whole tunnels of lava, same. So the craftsman already know the beauty of tunnels. Longhorn beetle's tunnel is beautiful. They already know. So I'm very surprised, and sometimes I exhibit this too. I exhibit my work and Rama together. And yes, so I'd like to I'd like to continue to think about who is artist, and I want to expand the artist. this is very important question for rethink about relationship with ecosystem, I think. And this is so what does the authorship of art mean if the concept is related to other species than human beings? This can be linked to another question, what is the subject in the environment, I think. And thinking about these questions, we will be released from anthropocentric thinking, I think. Thank you so much. Talk about?
Well, thank you so much for the presentation. You presented so many different works, and I thought maybe we can go back a little bit, and you could tell us a little bit about how you became interested in working with animals and collaborating with animals, I shall say.
The Hermit crabs one is first one. In 2009, I started the artworks with hermit crabs, and I was very exciting because actually the shape of artwork made by hermit crabs too. I mean the interaction with hermit crabs. Actually I made spherical shape for them, but they don't like it. So I have to change and organic part, organic shells and humanic buildings. I combined two, and so that's why the design was made by hermit crabs and me, I think.
How long was that process? So, back and forth.
Yes, I cannot count because I continue to struggle, but many years. Yes.
Right. And what is? I know that you've also worked with your own dog, for example.
A little bit. May I show a little? Yes, I made a cape from my dog's hair for me, and I made a cape from my hair to dog's cape. Yes, this is exchange program. This and yes, this is my hair for dogs, and this is my dog's hair for me. Yeah.
And didn't you say you got a dog hair allergy afterwards?
Yeah. I sniffed many dog's hair. I weaved dog's hair for my coat, so a lot. Yes, I became allergic, and I found that it's very difficult to. Dogs and humans are co-evolving because we cannot make this civilization without dogs, and dogs vice versa. Dogs cannot be here. Dogs still might still evolve if there are no humans. So that's why co-evolving, and this is very significant to species, I think. But it's very difficult to have a good partnership between two species. Yeah, human beings and other species. It's very difficult. Yeah.
And so you've worked, we saw today that you've worked with so many different animals. So you've worked with your dog, but of course you've worked with the hermit crabs, you've worked with beavers and beetles, and then the research about the number horse. What would you say was the biggest challenge in all the works that you've had so far, that you've created so far, in terms of the collaborating with animals?
Every day.
They're all challenging.
Yes. Sometimes parakeet didn't say anything, and sometimes beaver didn't
Carve anything?
anything, and they just were sleeping for days. And sometimes my hermit crabs didn't move from the shelter to my shelter, and yes, it's every day I'm struggling with other species. Yes.
So you have to be very patient in
Yes,
the whole process.
but it's happy. I mean, I want to. I have to change myself, I think, and it's very important progress. I mean, we should not control them, but we have to change. Yes. He was very exciting. Yeah, because I mean, I think he smelled his.
You smelled you
Yes.
around himself, yeah. So you just said that you think that we as humans basically have to change, and you also previously talked about this very anthropocentric focus, and you said that we should kind of rethink our relationship as humans with the kind of the ecosystems. Could you talk about that a little bit more?
We cannot continue this world. I mean, we have to change, and I want to have more respect to other species, and I want to know about other species well, and I felt, I mean, 多種の生き物とのあやとりのようななんか相互関係の中からこう創作物が生まれてくることをこう感じているっていう。
So she feels that it's like a cat's cradle of sort of interactions between different species as to how we can be creative together. I hope that's roughly right.
So in a way, your works have a very conceptual side to them, of course. And there's a lot of kind of what I find interesting, this kind of also encounter of past and present, or the encounter between humans and non-humans. But then, of course, there's also a big element of beauty in your work. And you also talked about the beauty, for example, when you talked about beaver sculptures, you said, oh, they're actually really beautiful. And the works that we see here in the show are very beautiful as well. It's a kind of a bit of a difficult question, but what is beauty to you? And
I think nature have beauty already, yes, and we can find. So that's why the shell is very beautiful, and the sculpture by beavers and the trees are very beautiful, and the same, I mean, Fibonacci yes, spiral is similar in shells, spiral, and branches. So I mean, I feel there are already
beauty is already there.
Yes.
But so you also add to the beauty with your work, of course, and with the techniques that you use. So it's not only finding beauty in nature, but you also add an artistic beauty.
Yeah. I think it's very important to make. I mean, I want to communicate with. How should I say? やっぱりアートには美が必要で、その ビジュアルコミュニケーションしていきたいってことかな。
Beauty is an important component in art, and this is about visual communication with other species or by other species. 誰のビジュアルコミュニケーションですか？自分の？
両方かな。
So other species.
Yes.
So yeah, visual communication by you and the other species as a team to us, the audience.
Yeah.
And also, I think that applies to the way that you present your work as well. Because I mean, for example, at Mori, and I'm not sure about here, but I think, you know, for you're an artist who kind of very much cares about the way your work is displayed, and you're very kind of particular about, you know, let's move this a little bit more here, a bit more there.
May I describe a little more about Aichi trainer? Actually, last summer I worked a lot for Aichi trainer 2022, and this is the bagworms, and here is my site, and we can see the exhibition site. I exhibit my work in very traditional old style Japanese home, and it was used to be wholesaler. I mean, here this Arimatsu is Japanese town in Aichi, and it was traditional shibori tie-dye. Do you know shibori? Yes, shibori is tie-dye, Japanese tie-dye, and we use thread, and sometimes we want to make pattern by thread. I mean, we can make some area to not to dyed.
So some areas are dyed and others are deliberately left blank.
And I think it's a little bit similar to insects. This time I refer to wing pattern of moth. So actually I exhibited two works in Aichi trainer, and one is the video works with bagworms larvae, and they magpie larvae made their protective cases by themselves using shibori tie-dye clothing. And then a second one, I made round fan with wing pattern of mosses. Moss. This is round fan.
How long did that again take? So you gave them the little pieces, and then they started creating them. How long was that?
Depends on individuals of lovers.
Yeah.
Yes, some is very good and very fast, and some is very slow, and they cannot make well.
Yes. So if you say some are fast, what does fast mean? How long does that still take?
Very faster one, they can make only 3 hours. But
within 3 hours?
Yes, but some larvae can make protective cases by 3 days. So it depends on each larva. Yes. And I made ikebana with branches with bagworms protective cases with shibori. And this is ukiyo-e. Yes, this is shibori. We can find. Yes, it's very traditional one. And yes, here is craftsman. She is she have very high quality of shibori master. She is, and she is trying to make new pattern for my work. I mean, there are 100 techniques in Arimatsu, and each shibori technique have a name. like Karamatsu shibori and Miura shibori, sorry, only Japanese, but they have all, each names. And so I wanted to make new shibori pattern for Aichito might be 200 first. So and that's why I asked her to make new shibori pattern by using, inspired by wing pattern of moss.
Right. How did they react? Because I mean, if it's a traditional, art and craft, and then you come and say, why these are, can you copy these patterns? How were the reactions? Was everyone?
Yes. It was very difficult, but I found it's very similar to. Shibori pattern, shibori and wing pattern is a little bit similar because, it's a little bit complicated, but this is mosses I refer. And this is a rule, and 5 spots, they are, protein, diffusive protein, called morphogen, and morphogen spread out from these 5 spots, and it became each pattern. Each wing is different. The shibori is also. Shibori. We cannot make same shibori. Yeah, each shibori is different. So that's why I wanted to make this with shibori pattern. And this is computer simulation. And then I made with Mr. Kuno, and this is.
I have one more question. I think after that we might open up. So we've talked about collaboration with animals and even with maybe trees and plants, but also of course collaboration with other people is a major element in your work, and research in general is a major element in your work. And so the whole process until your work is kind of finished is extremely important. So could you talk a little bit about, do you enjoy this process of working with all kinds of different people, scientists, traditional artists, I don't know, people in the zoo?
Yes, exactly. Huge people.
Many people are involved to kind of create your work.
Yes.
Is that something that you want to continue in the future as well in your work?
Yes, because always I am studying, and yes, it's very exciting process. So it's very difficult, but it's very exciting because I have to change.
You have to adapt. I think that excitement is something that I see in your work, this interest in learning all these new things in that process. It's really fascinating. Thank you so much.
Thank you.